So that's my plan for world domination. I mean, like, oh, hi everybody.
Well, we're taking notes. Yeah, can't wait to see how it all works out for you, mate. It's
oh yeah, I know, but no, I didn't just lay that out. Everything is fine. Nothing's being plotted. Just go about your business. Bye.
So everybody okay? Everybody had a good week?
No,
I've had a fantastic week.
Yeah, I know. It's just I love the fact I was talking to someone earlier about the fact that Trump has, even before he's even taken office, he's basically doing stuff already that is already having a positive reaction.
Good.
Yeah.
It's so good. Listen, this week I got my Doctor Who Blu-ray season 25, right? I got my volume 2. Oh, I'm loving it. Volume 2 of the Doctor Who backup strips, right? And yeah, Blake 7 Blu-ray's been shipped. Plus, Western civilization was saved. So it's been a good
exactly.
But the next day I was like very happy. But here in my country, you can't tell people why you're happy because that's not allowed. Because they will like So, but yay!
I'm not sure where we are in Britain. I mean, in America, I think it's completely changed now overnight. The morning after the election, it felt like Christmas morning all day. Not just for me, but I think for a lot of people in Britain.
I watched for about 10 hours straight. I watched the entire thing. I between like about 5 or 6 different YouTube channels, and occasionally I go to CBS or MSNBC just to watch the Cope. It was awesome.
I've always been fairly middling on the man himself, on the Donald himself, but I do kind of like Western civilization and life as we know it. So I'd kind of like to be able to afford to eat.
Prediction for you: before his inauguration, there will be some kind of hostage deal where the hostages from in Gaza are released, and that's wrapped up, and Ukraine, Russia is going to be dealt with before his inauguration. But I see those hostages coming out. Hamas has contacted him already, saying they want to end Hamas, and what's left of it?
They're all contacting him. It seems like all.
I love what he said. He said during his speech. He said, "Oh, right, okay." To Hamas, he said, "Right, you've got until inauguration day. If those hostages are not back by inauguration day, then basically we're coming."
Everyone's shitting themselves.
It's awesome. Well, he's RFK is going to be in charge of health, and people are I won't say the word, something to do with pooping themselves, because he is going to completely gut house. It's awesome. I'm like, this is not going to be like the last term. Term, he had a traditional vice president. Here he's got somebody that can replace him. And if you don't respect J.D. Vance, watch Hillbilly Elegy on Netflix. It's his life story.
I think we should. I think it was. Yeah, it is on Netflix. I think we should watch that film for a later date. I mean, it does seem to me like as if woke is very, very compromised. It's bleeding out as we speak. The bubble's immediately been burst. Bill Gates is approaching the new administration right now. That's just broken in the last hour or two. We've got a speech from Mel Gibson as well, which is even better. We're going to talk about some of that on this edition of the show, because it's quite difficult to keep the smiles off our faces, and this does sort of cross into territory of ours here as content creators, and on a channel and a show that's always been associated with free speech as well. We've got a full panel here, full of ideas, full of gob, as always. And there's lots of geeky stuff to get into as well. So I'm not quite sure what order we're going to tackle it all in. There's lots to get stuck into. We cover whatever we cover. Great. We've got people watching already. You sit tight and let's get stuck into it.
Yep.
I put together some really impressive deals. But this thing you've pulled off, it's amazing. A big and tasty for just $1? How do you do it? What's your secret? You're a man of few words. I like that.
Got a buck? You're in luck, because you can get a delicious beefy big and tasty or a McChicken sandwich for just $1 every day at McDonald's.
Purple. Very, very powerful.
Hello, welcome back to the Spacebook, talking all out there entertainment and live streaming it to you on YouTube and on Rumble too. Pop culture disclosed, debated and debagged here on our 100% real-time live stream. It's what is it? It's Saturday the 9th of November 2024, no less. And I'm Dan Hadley, Birmingham's king of the geeks. This is the Spacebook Live. We're going to deliver a shock or two to the senses as we go along, I've no doubt. There's a hell of a lot to talk about, as I've said before. Don't mean that in any glib way whatsoever, but yeah, we want your views on it all too in the live chat, specifically coming from that entertainment point of view, the pop culture point of view, which has been so drastically damaged over the last few years by the dreaded woke, which absolutely is on its way out, thank heavens, certainly on a global scale, although results are going to vary depending on where we are in the world at various points, aren't they? So we're going to compare notes on this edition of the show. You join in the live chat as well, and that's how it's going to be. So yeah, we've got a panel to bring on as well. Straddling the globe. We are straddling the globe, and well, you've already seen them. We've got John Yulden here. We have the great Bowles Trek over there with a brand new icon as well. Yet again, we've got the mega geek Ian David Diaz and the rabbi from another planet himself, Sfila Betkin, over there in the where the action is. Aren't you, mate? A little bit.
That's a bit complimentary. I'm a bit old for that now. What can I tell you?
I have to say, this is becoming quite customary. It's icon of the week there from Chris over at Bowles Trek HQ. What is it? What have we got this week? Who's this? This angry hobbit?
Well, I asked an AI generator to do a digital rendering of myself. That's what it came up with.
Wow.
Are you happy with these results, mate?
Why not? You've got more hair than I do.
I think that looks.
What were you doing just now? It sounds like you're implanting a rectal microphone. What the hell was that?
I was what?
No, Ian was doing something.
I didn't do anything.
Oh, I see that innocent little face. Yes, you did.
Didn't do nothing, mate.
Don't believe a word of it, mate. Oh, okay. That's a good segue. I had a very disturbing Friday night. You will all appreciate the story.
Sorry. Okay. Give it to us.
I'm in the synagogue, right? I'm in the synagogue. The rabbi's speaking. He's half my age, whatever. Like, he's speaking, right? I'm trying not to fall asleep. I'm not right in front of him. I'm in the middle of the room in my normal seat, trying not to fall asleep. Fall asleep. Next thing I know, I'm in deep REM sleep, right? Like deep, dark, beautiful, gooey, black sleep. And I'm dreaming that I'm shitting myself, right? This is a true story. Right? Then all of a sudden,
I'm with you.
I wake up and I'm in the middle of the synagogue and the rabbi's speaking. I go, did I shit myself? Oh my God. So I'm looking around subtly, seeing if anybody's looking at me, right? And then I'm like sniffing. I don't smell anything. Okay, I squinch around the seat, see if everything's nice and Okay, thank God I didn't shit myself in synagogue this week. Okay, so
it was a prophecy.
It's a prophecy.
That would only happen to you, man.
In the synagogue, that is the breaking of the second seal.
Yeah.
This is how we roll here at the Spacebook Live on a Saturday night. All is disclosed, and the rabbi could have been debagged.
By the way, have you ever seen the Seven Still? Demi Moore and who else was in it?
Fun enough, I saw something on social media about that just earlier today, and I hadn't thought about it in years.
Ian, if you haven't seen it, you would like it. It's like a really good religious action movie. You ever seen it?
Was it before
I've seen it a long time
or
ago.
after Demi Moore had the boob job, though? That's the most important question.
I don't know, but it was a very long time ago I saw it. I can't even remember.
If it was before, it was enough before that they were still good.
Okay.
There was still
Wasn't
good. There was still
shit in
grand.
it, was there, Rabbi?
What?
nobody had a shit in it today.
I don't know. Well, yes, sir. You never know what's going to happen. You never know what's
Rabbi, what's this you're sharing with me? What's this picture?
Oh yeah, you're talking about RFK.
It's from synagogue.
This is great. This is where we are in the world, right? This is how the world has changed so dramatically.
Who's that on the left?
All this is true.
That is true. What's its name again? I can't remember. That's the health secretary. under.
Yeah, it was a
Biden.
general. Was that right?
Of course, Jewish. I'm so ashamed. Really, please.
Okay.
Merrick Garland's going to jail, baby. I can't wait. Merrick Garland is going. Speaking of Jews, I don't like. Is going to jail. It's okay. I'm Jewish. If you're just listening, okay. Landsman.
I mean, that says everything, doesn't it? Department of Health 2021.
I know.
Well, if you look at it, RFK
we
had
entering a golden age. Have you heard the policy stuff he's put out so far?
Yeah, we're going to talk. We're going to talk about that. We're going to talk. We're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about that in a. We are going to talk.
Do much better.
What we are going to talk about that in a couple of minutes. I've got that coming up. We couldn't leave that. But yeah, I mean, what I really admire about this so far, back in 2010 in Britain, and without getting too political, because this isn't a political show as such, but in Britain back in 2010. We entered into a coalition government between the Conservatives and the Liberal Democrats, and it was an absolute disaster. It was a paper coalition that achieved absolutely nothing, certainly not for the Lib Dems. They pretty much disappeared within 18 months, while the Conservatives, got probably our worst ever Prime Minister in David Cameron. It was a nightmare, and it's been downhill ever since. Here, what they seem to be been able to put together at the Republican Party is something that does seem a bit more fit for purpose, with people like the gentleman on the right. That's Robert Kennedy Jr., isn't it? Who is a Democrat for all intents and purposes, who's this expert. He's the right guy to have in on health. We used to do that in Britain up until about 30, 40 years ago, where a Conservative government, for example, would get in and they would have somebody from the Labour Party or from the Liberal Party in the cabinet simply because they were the best and they knew the most about the topic. Now they wouldn't do that in a million years. This does seem to be, I wouldn't say it's shattering the mould, but it's certainly something that I've not seen in politics on a global scale in a long time.
How old is RFK?
He's 70.
Democrat.
70. But here's something you have to admire about him. I think about a year ago, he had a brain worm. Like, that's why his voice is the way it is right now. Right. He almost died. Basically, it's like think of it as like a brain hemorrhage caused by a worm. So that was about a year ago. Other than his voice, I'm like, you wouldn't guess that he's 70. No. And
he's brilliant. He's so smart.
Video of him bench pressing as well.
I know. I know. Yeah. No, he's so smart. It's again, you said he's a Democrat. He's the Democrat, right? This is what Democrats used to be.
JFK was his uncle.
Yeah,
JFK Sr. who was killed was his dad.
And if the Democrats weren't morons, he would be president now, right? Because they had a non-democratic primary. He was running. He would have. I mean, like, him versus Trump would have given Trump a run for the money because he's very smart.
Yeah.
Right. And he's very charismatic. Like, even with his voice, he's a great talker. It would have been a really nicer campaign because he would have campaigned on issues. I mean, he's like a genuinely good person. So that they're together. It's the dream team, right? It's him, it's Vivek Ramaswamy, it's JD Vance. Oh God, JD Vance just gets more normal and more awesome.
Interesting, capable people who do seem to be quite forward thinking, surrounding. It seemed to me, speaking of somebody obviously overseas, who, as I said when he was first elected, he was that brash, loud guy who used to do this and then did that. I didn't really have any feelings about him one way or the other. But when I saw him, it did seem to me like that he didn't think he was necessarily going to win that original election, and when he did, it seemed like he felt it was all on him to do it all himself, the way perhaps he would in the business world. That doesn't seem to be a strategy that he's employing this time. He seems very, very different as a speaker to me, looking at it all these years later, to the point that I am quite excited, really. This last few days has seemed like a dream, the American dream. After securing the 2024 American presidential election, President-elect Donald J. Trump wasted no time in issuing a statement. And speaking of policy, he seems to be kicking ass and taking names. It's all going to start as soon as he can, really. And just today, I've been sent, I don't know if he's given it today, I think he has. Today, he's delivered a powerful, inspiring speech on his administration's approach to free speech policy. Obviously, it's aimed towards America, as one would expect, despite the fact that none of us are actually in America. As content creators of one degree or another, we are and have been victims of suppression and censorship from overseas at the hands of not just domestic, but these same US-based groups that he's pointing to directly here. I found this speech heroic and inspiring and exciting, as you say, because we are content creators, Rabbi. And so you've been following this close the most. You're very much in that commentator mold. I know you've found it all very stirring, haven't you? So
man,
when did you see this speech?
Tonight. I just came out of Sabbath, and because he's been putting these out. He put out one yesterday about the deep state, about what he's doing to dismantle that, and that's even more incredible, right? This is literally destroying all the evil people who have destroyed our lives, way of life. This is destroying permanent Washington's way of life irrevocably. And even if they kill him now, it's too late. The policies are there. They're going to happen. There's nothing they can do to stop them short of a genuine coup, which I think could happen, right? There is nothing to stop him. He's going to destroy that whole corrupt way of life. In just what he's laid out already, and plus he did this thing about the 250th anniversary celebrations of America, which also sounds awesome.
Sounds fantastic.
He's been good stuff after good stuff after good. And again, I am convinced there will be a photo op with the rescued hostages from Gaza with him before he's inaugurated. He wants that a lot, right? He wants. And can you imagine the world falling silent? Oh God, it'd be fantastic.
God damn. Yep.
Those expressions, Silicon Valley, big tech, they're bandied around quite a lot in the legacy media as well, John. This is something I think people are used to hearing without necessarily knowing what they mean, what those terms encapsulate, who falls into those categories, don't they? Here, I think we're going to find out pretty quickly who's been doing what to whom.
Absolutely. And again, it's about transparency, isn't it? And they keep trying to do this. We know people that have had suspicions that they've been shadow banned purely because they've said something that
Hello.
They don't.
We have just on type 40 just because we've upset the BBC.
Yeah, absolutely. So
that's just, and John, let's get this into perspective. That's just about the telly.
I know.
The telly.
Yeah, exactly. All the shit's going to go. You know what came out in the last 24 hours? FEMA, the relief agency, they had a written directive to say if anybody had a Trump sign outside the house and they need help from the hurricane, just drive by, ignore them.
People are going to go to jail.
It's like heads. I mean, and he really is saying heads are going to roll. Who do we just lose, John? What did I say? What did I say, John? Come back, baby.
We made John go away.
He's having some problems with his audio. He's gonna restart his audio and come back on.
Yeah.
I got to say though, it's and I love Trump. But I don't think I've ever actually admired a politician before until J.D. Vance. And it's not just his performance, but if you have not watched that movie, and I don't know if anybody else here has, and
I'm gonna have to.
If you see where that man came from, like he literally came from nothing, like a horrific childhood, and really a rough young adulthood too. So Trump is somebody, his father was middle class. He wasn't the Trump family that it is now. He mainly built in Brooklyn. Donald Jr. Trump was the one that built that business to what it is now. But J.D. Vance literally came from nothing, like less than nothing. Yeah. So everybody on this, that movie, it's on Netflix. I've watched it twice.
What is it? Like a documentary?
No. It's so J.D. Vance actually wrote a book about his upbringing about 10 years ago.
Autobiography, wasn't it?
Right. It was directed by Ron Howard.
Wow.
But he was an author before he went into politics. So basically, it was shot as a movie. Amy Adams plays his mother, and goddamn, his mother's a piece of work.
I got to see this. What does
this is what's attracted. All this sounds great, but what attracted me was the poster. Amy Adams in a short denim skirt, looking like
that. But no, I actually everybody on the stream, everybody in the chat, if you have not seen it, it's a Netflix film. It's available on Netflix. I encourage you to watch it. You will see J.D. Vance in a whole new. If you had watched that documentary before, or say read the book that he wrote before he destroyed Mr. Waltzing idiot.
Oh my God,
like,
so much.
I genuinely felt proud for the guy during that, and this is the first president or vice president who is younger than I am at the time he was elected. It's like, we're old. He's younger than all of us, dudes.
Hello to everybody in the. I just want to say hello to everybody in the live chat who's watching across on Rumble and YouTube. We'll pick up some comments when we can, but thank you all for your company, including Gary Akers, Michael Q, the fabulous Lord Thoth, Darren M, Stephen Braddock's here too, and we've got lots more people rolling in, I see, like Garbage. And various others. So yeah, keep those comments coming and we'll get stuck into them as and when we can. Rabbi, you were saying?
About JD Vance. You can see why they went for the attack line. He's weird because he's the most normal guy. He's super normal.
Yep.
Married, kids.
Yeah.
Like he's normal under like insane circumstances. So yeah, I think the JD Vance presidency from 28 to 30 to was it 36 would be very good. I'm intrigued
compare him to Pence.
That.
I'm like, I think Trump has realized the mistakes he made the first time around, and Pence was an awful choice. So now he's not even trying to even remotely cater to established Republicans now, or the rhinos. They're basically done. And in his choice of a running mate, because he knows something very, very bad might happen to him. Because it's something very, very bad has happened to him almost a couple times, including actually being shot. So he's actually got. If Pence, something happened to Trump back in say 2018, and we had Pence, it would have been like Biden. But no, with the runner-up, and I do think he'll be the 48th president. I'm saying that now. JD Vance is somebody that I would trust to carry through Trump's saving the world, which is basically what it is right now. And on an up note. As my current supreme leader in my own country has yet another scandal. The election will be held at some point between now and next fall. He's not going to fix everything, but we do have our own version of Donald Trump in the form of our conservative leader, Pierre Poilievre.
Oh, he's good.
Yeah, he's watch clips. He's the exact opposite of Sir Justin. But yeah, no, it's like literally. So within a year, we'll have Trump advance down south, and we'll have Poilievre and like the common sense conservatives in Canada. So I'm sorry, Britain, you'll have to wait a while.
Yeah, help. Everybody help. Retro.Gary Akers in the live chat says everyone in Washington is either shredding incriminating documents or updating their resumes. And this is something that the president-elect does seem to be very conscious of. He knows that's probably going to be happening. It strikes me as was detailed in this speech. So for the people who haven't heard it yet, haven't seen it yet, we've got, so I'll get the link in the description to the video so you can go and check it out. It's about 6 or 7 minutes long. But Trump said, if we don't have free speech, then we just don't have a free country. It's as simple as that. If this most fundamental right is allowed to perish, then the rest of our rights and liberties will topple just like dominoes. One by one, they'll go down. That's why today I'm announcing my plan to shatter the left-wing censorship regime and to reclaim the right to free speech for all Americans. And reclaim is a very important word in this case because they've taken it away. And he goes on to say a lot more about the deep state and Silicon Valley tyrants. It's music to all of our ears. I think not just as content creators, though, as men, as people who, as I said, kind of like living and speaking freely, and we want to see that is maintained for future generations.
Dad, do you remember what happened?
The world has changed, of course.
Bought Twitter, right?
Instant difference. Yeah. Right? It feels like that again.
New followers, and then all the left-wing accounts lost a ton.
Yeah.
That's the same thing happened to everyone.
I'm very jealous of Trump and America, because in England we just don't. I wish somebody would stand up and say what he said.
Okay, Ian,
you know what I mean?
look at it this way: they're such a disaster. They've got to screw up enough to destroy themselves soon.
They've got to do what they've done to my country. And I would like to be unshadow banned. My YouTube channel, I can pretty much tell you the day I was shadow banned. It was December 19th, 2019. I'm pretty sure at the request of a certain corporation in the homeland, where that was my last video that got over 100,000. That was the last time I had any subscriber growth. And literally that day, I was dropped to the lowest tier of AdSense. Like I literally could look at it on analytics. I could see the exact day they shadow banned me, and we all know what came in January 2020. So it's like I wonder what it would be like to be unshadow banned, and I could test it too, especially with the they've frozen my subs at 40,000. It's been frozen at that for 5 years, and I can actually tell. I did one stream with a Critical Drinker. There was, I think, about 15,000 people watching. I gained about 2,000 subs. They were all deleted within 48 hours. I'm like, I hate YouTube.
If you put it that way, it sounds unimaginable, the difference that this could make in the long run. Obviously, we're speaking from a position of content creation, but there's a far bigger question. In Britain, things are bleaker. We've just elected a very, very far left-wing government. I suspect that they will become compromised sooner rather than later, because fortunately there is another. Everybody, there is another. So who knows what could happen in the shorter term. Obviously, we're concerned. We'd like our entertainment to get better as well. People have asked me about that. Do you think our entertainment will start to get better? Maybe eventually. And obviously, we all love our pop culture. We love our movies, TV shows, everything that's been infected and destroyed, deconstructed, demolished by the same groups. All the various things that we enjoy have all experienced the same passage and the same ultimate outcome of being turned to unwatchable shit. So it would be nice if that was sorted out. But I think in the here and now, saving the Western world so that future generations.
And I think the difference between this and 2016 is this: that in 2016 people were polite. People didn't realize to tell people to shut up about their screeching insanity, right? I think in now 2024, people are just like, that's what this vote was about. It was telling the imbeciles just
to shut the fuck up. Yeah, enough's enough.
And so I think anybody like CNN or late night talk shows, they start screeching their same bollocks, they're going to see their viewership die away from what it already is. There's no tolerance for this whatsoever anymore. Even people who don't like Trump say we want an end.
Also,
we want an end to the divisiveness.
I don't know if you guys, I don't know from my end. Okay, when I woke up the next day and Trump was president, on the radio it just said, and Trump is the president, and that's it. They never said anything more about it. And then when I was watching the BBC, it was the same thing. It was like, oh, he's the president now, and then that was that. Do you know what I mean?
Because they hated it. They're
it's really, it's ridiculous, isn't it? I mean, the majority of America has spoken. They said they don't want to be called histophobes or phobes or whatever. You know, they're tired of all this nonsense. That's why they voted for him. You know, and it's obvious. And I don't understand all these celebrities are talking nonsense about.
Oh, they're done.
Yeah, how it's disgraceful and all that, and they're just pulling things out of their arse, and they're just talking nonsense. They have to face reality, and I hope sooner than later.
I think they're going to have to. That's the thing.
I believe that the end for that class of people, that particular brand of elitist, Ian, has been speeded up considerably just in the last 10 days. I mean, not only was it completely fruitless, because as we know, I think elections all over the world, generally speaking, most people have decided and don't change their minds 3-4 weeks before the date of an election. In the last 3 or 4 weeks, all you can really do is remind the buggers to turn up. Apart from that, it's pretty pointless. So that not only did the Avengers waste their time and our time having to sit through that shit.
Oh, they ruined it.
But they've also damaged their own brand irreparably.
Oh, that's the official end of the MCU, and Robert Downey Jr., the guy's aged like 40 years and 4. But there's one thing that I said 4 years ago, when certain bad things happen in the background, and the Biden administration was I guess it's kind of like Buckley's. But one thing that I said at the time, and maybe this was and other people said this too, or maybe it was just Cope in our own minds because we couldn't quite believe that they'd done that. But I said, maybe the one good thing, even though it's going to be horrific, maybe we need 4 years of the United States being completely and utterly controlled by these people, so society can learn just how bad things can get. Exactly. The only thing that we can hope for, and this is what I was saying 4 years ago, is that by the time it's done, the damage is not irreparable. Like for my country, I don't know, like my country has been destroyed to a point where I don't actually know if it can be fixed because the damage is horrific. But we also, when our current regime was elected, Obama was still president. So that's how long we've been inflicted by this, 9 years now. I think the United States, I say maybe one more year of Biden, they would have been past the point of repair, but I think now it can be fixed. And I'm hoping to hell my country can be fixed. And I feel so sorry for you guys in the UK because you got a majority. So
we've got a long way to go
about it. Yeah.
So, Bob, let me ask you: Is there like any appetite to do like mass deportations in Canada? Because that's what it's going to take.
I have to. It's we don't have free speech in my country anymore, so I have to be careful what I say on this. But I would say there's. Without bringing race or anything into it, there is great concern over bringing 1 million plus people a year into a country our size when the population of most cities, which were already at their breaking point, is up between 10 to 20% in 3 to 5 years. People want this situation fixed, but we're not allowed to talk about it.
Because they call you racist if you do.
It's one of the things that
that's
the regime has done when it comes to that kind of stuff.
Because they have no answer.
No, it's when it comes to speaking about it specifically in Canada, from a Canadian perspective, we don't have freedom anymore. One of the things that they did in terms of censorship is you can't even get Canadian news on Facebook anymore because of a bill that was passed a year ago. And this was done on purpose to censor Canadian news.
So Canadians can't get Canadian news on the biggest social media platform.
We could still get it on X because Elon is not fans of our leader. But but Facebook, what they did was put forth a bill where the content creators or the tech giants, the companies that own it. So in the case of Facebook, it's Meta that owns it. They have to compensate every Canadian news creator for every time a Canadian created story is present on or shows up on Facebook. And they did this on purpose because they knew that Facebook would never do this. Twitter wouldn't do this. Well, Twitter doesn't care. Actually, Elon still allows it, which is kind of funny. But no, they did this on purpose because if you can't get news on Facebook, which I haven't had a Facebook account in 2 years, and I'll chances of me going back are about as good as me winning a beauty contest, which ain't going to happen. But no, he knew as soon as he did that, Meta was like, no, we will just block all Canadian content, which is what they did, which is why there are horrific things being exposed in our country right now that most people don't know about because we do not have our Fox News. We have Rebel Media, which lost their network a year ago, and even Rebel Media is a bit too biased to the right, in my opinion. Just the scandal that came out this week, the events of 2020, the big world event.
I remember.
Possible direct Canadian involvement in what happened.
Wow.
At a drug lab in Winnipeg and a link between a certain lab in Wuhan. This one could potentially turn into one of the biggest scandals in Canadian history. A few weeks ago, we have a carbon tax, which is a green energy tax that businesses pay, which they pass on to us, which all the funds, or most of them, are going towards Liberal Party insiders. I'm like, it's a disaster. So, but the question that you asked, Dan, and then I'll shut up, that one thing which I cannot mention by name, everybody is very concerned about it because you can't get a doctor. You're paying $3,000 to $4,000 for like a bachelor apartment in Toronto. It's even worse in Vancouver. Nobody can afford to live. Our groceries have doubled in price. I know because I've been buying the same things because I'm very cheap for like 15 years. What used to cost me $35 now costs me over $100. Sorry, you got a Bulls Trek rant. I'll shut up now.
We've got a comment here in the live chat that does sort of lead on from that quite nicely. If I can get to that, it's from our friend Darren Bradley. So let's just get hold of that, because he was just mentioning Meta in particular. And obviously that's Mark Zuckerberg's platform. And Darren says part of the speech mentioned sending out papers prohibiting the destroying of documents. I imagine once issued, any shredding will mean criminal proceedings. That's exactly what he was pointing towards. And Darren, you also mentioned something else which I seem to have mislaid. But specifically in regard, here we are, having recently hinted towards some leaning towards Trump, do you think Zuckerberg is feeling quite relieved at the big tech proposal, a government that is no longer down his neck in suppressing info? You have to wonder about that, because Bill Gates today seems to be on his way up Trump's rectum.
Yeah, I mean, I think if you're someone that believes in a democracy and you believe in free speech, whether you're on the left or whether you're on the right, it shouldn't make any difference whatsoever. It should literally be
not at all.
A case of you should want free speech and you should want not to be censored. And you know, I found it fascinating the last few years, and I think it was, you know, Rabbi and Chris was saying earlier, you know, you sometimes have to go through the darkness to get back to the light. And we've seen how much rubbish has happened the last few years, that it is out in daylight, and it's been brought to the front, you know, what they're doing, and the suppression of certain you know, news and certain information. I'll be honest, 4 years ago, I wouldn't have thought too much into it, but you know, I suddenly opened my eyes to it. I mean, I was watching our UK news for the last few weeks, and there was stuff that they were saying there about the US elections, and it was edited down because I'd already seen online and on X, I'd seen the actual full video, but they were just chopping it down to make it look like a certain candidate, as in Trump, was saying something highly controversial. And when
they always do that, don't they?
It's not at all. And this is the trouble with it, you know. And you know, I'm so happy he's come out and said it. And I hope these Silicon Valley people and people in the government that have been involved, I hope they do start running for the hills, because there needs to be accountability. The big one is the big one that I'd like he's talked about is the fact that the FBI had a backdoor into, as Musk had said, into X before we bought it. So they didn't.
They could just have anything documents. And anyone suppressed, removed, limited.
Well, backdoors in Facebook, in Instagram.
That's not right. You know, it's you should. You know, it's
how
not like
the BBC throttle us without. I mean, like
BBC throttled me.
Yeah, it's all these government. So the question is this: if all this gets like stomped on by America, right? Americans can't do this anymore. What happens to the other countries? What happens to Canada?
Canada will change under our new prime minister. Polyev is one of those who has referred to these things as quote, "Don't get mad, woke shite." No, he's anti, because he's been censored into oblivion.
Right.
Like it's so because they do not like anybody that wants to go up against the regime. And Polyev, actually, he's 1 year younger than I am. God, I'm old. But no, it's you know, there is a new breed of, even though he's been in Parliament for 20 years. He was like, I think 25 when he was first elected. But no, it depends. Whether I have no doubt that Trump is going to do everything that he proposes. If Polyev does everything it looks like he's going to do, then Canada will be saved from censorship as well. So then your happy country will probably block everything from our countries.
When it comes to Britain, I think a lot of it. Sorry, Ian, but I think when it comes to Britain, for the time being, a lot of it is going to hinge on Nigel Farage. He's offered to work with the Prime Minister, Keir Starmer, as a kind of interface between Trump and Starmer. If Starmer doesn't take him up on it, if he doesn't entertain it, or if he outright rejects any proposals from the Republican Party and Trump's administration, that's going to play so badly here domestically. It will speed the disposal of the current government. John,
I know how it's going to play out, and sorry to jump in front of Ian there, but I just wanted to say that Trump has already mentioned as well that the word that he loves is tariffs, and he's already said if people don't play ball, he's going to put tariffs on things. So I can see what's going to happen. He'll literally go to our government in the UK, who are weasels, who are already backtracking big time, and he'll basically say, right, you know, this social media policy that I've put in place, you're going to fall in line with it. If you don't, we're going to impose tariffs, and you're going to be in a lot of trouble.
I think you're probably right. If you want to know what England's position is right now, I put a little video clip from Don Jr.
Did you see the mayor came out slagging off Trump today?
I think he's been doing it all week, Ian. From the position of somebody who lives in London, what are you seeing and what are you hearing? Because obviously London is kind of, it's a little bit of it's kind of, there's a disconnect between, I think, London and the rest of England, certainly the rest of Britain. So what's the talk there?
It's just basically people. I mean, ITV not breakfast. What do you call it? The morning show was slagging
Good Morning
off.
Britain.
I've never seen any time they've had an election. When one side wins, they're always gracious about it. Yeah, we hope he does this, whatever. Or they say things like, well, he said he's going to do this, but I doubt if he's going to do this because of this, 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 and this. I've never, ever seen in the history of the UK, celebrities and presenters saying it's a tragedy. This is the worst thing that happened to the world. Do you know what I mean? And the question you've got to ask yourself is, what has Trump said that actually Trump?
I've never been able to find out.
Trump,
they don't know
what they believe in. Do you know what I mean?
They can't answer
he said nothing that trumps anything that they believe in at all so far.
The main thing is January 6th, and if you start to go through it with them, they kind of freak out.
It's crazy.
Yeah, absolutely. Right? I mean, they never know the answer about it.
Right.
I was just saying, they literally unravel and they start getting quite aggressive when you actually ask them the question, okay, what are you referring to? But I would also say that when they also bring up January the 6th, and I'm not an American, I've got no skin in the game over there, although I'm glad and I'm happy about what's happened. But they don't talk about what they call the Summer of Love in the United States, where people were going through burning buildings down.
They might
no one was held accountable for that. You know, you had politicians on the Democratic side taking the knee to these people that were doing it at the time. But that's
look, the first thing you got to do when you talk to anybody about that is you got to say, well, do you think the underlying claim was valid? Or no, and that's really the problem is they don't want to say the claim that the 2020 election wasn't overly kosher is a valid one, and that's where the hysteria comes. And now you see there's a mysterious extra 15 million votes that suddenly arrived in the 2020 election.
Aliens, dude, it was the aliens. Well, here's
and look, you couldn't say because people were locked down and pissed off. I don't know.
Do you know what's surprising?
Billion, come on!
Do you know what's surprising as well? I saw a report, I can't remember if it was Fox or whatever. They said that most of the students in America voted for Trump. Yeah, now, that says it all, doesn't it? Because that's where it kind of lied, didn't it? With these crazy students talking nonsense. But the majority of all vote for Trump. That says.
Did you see Ian, the speech from that late night American talk show host? They're interchangeable, these arseholes. Yeah. I think Jimmy Kimmel, I think his name is, crying about this group and that group. Yeah. He named practically every group. I thought, well, okay, if all of these people have had a really, really bad day, a really, really bad week, it must have been a good week for somebody because tens of millions of the fuckers voted him in.
Yeah. No, the thing that.
He always said it's also a bad night for anybody who voted for him. They just don't know yet because they're stupid.
Oh yeah.
Well, there's
the thing that. Sorry, Chris. You go.
I was just going to say a good comeback for any time, and I use this, and then they look it up and realize it's actually a fact. When somebody calls Trump a R-ist, I don't want to say that word because I don't want to get our friend Dan in trouble. I'm like, okay, so you mean the former president that tried to get that group, the one with the 3 Ks, which I won't say by name, that he tried to designate a domestic terrorist group and was unsuccessful.
He was very clear about that.
Yeah. This is the person.
Oh, I thought you were going to say the R word with a P, not the R word with a C. I'm confused.
It's getting so confusing. Isn't it? All these
show me the evidence there. Has there been a conviction?
No.
No.
The thing is,
there are several words that where we are at the moment with language as well. This really annoys me as somebody who enjoys language, John. Is that there are several words which I, for some reason, because of various different labels and groups that I just happen to fall into through immutable characteristics, I'm told that I can't use these words, whether I want to use them or not. Now, there's a couple of those words that I can't think I'd ever have a reason to use, but
no.
I should be able to use them if I want to. Everybody else 100%. Seems to be able to. Other groups seem to be able to use them with license, with complete impunity. Like I say, there are words that I simply don't want to. Words that feel harsh to my ears. But you know what? If I feel I'm resentful of the fact that if I wanted to use them, I can't simply because of. When I look in the mirror, the person who stares back at me to one degree or another, that's wrong. That is categorically
unbelievably wrong. And you know, I would say also that the thing that I find as well is that I've heard the last few days as well that they've said, this is from the news, the CNNs and whatnot. They've been saying, oh, you know, MAGA voted them in. MAGA didn't vote them in. It's a completely different animal now because MAGA
seems totally
it's not just MAGA, it's the majority because he's got the popular vote, he's got the mandate.
It's also English.
Yeah.
But also,
it was a landslide. It was a landslide victory. The competition, Kamala Harris was utterly destroyed and humiliated.
That's why she didn't come out. That's why she didn't come out and talk. But also, there's this one celebrity on TV, and I don't even know who she was. She was going, "I fear for my daughter. I fear for women's rights."
What
are you talking about? He's allowing free speech.
I think that was Christina Applegate. I think.
He's just appointed a couple of women to key positions in his administration too, has he not?
He has.
Yeah, but that never look in England. You know the thing. You got the head of the Conservatives, Kemi Badenoch. Now she's a black of white supremacy.
Yeah.
No, it's never good enough.
That was revolting. Who was it who said that? That was like Dawn Butler. My God, the fact that woman is still a serving MP. What a fucking embarrassment that is. Absolutely disgraceful.
It's do as I say, don't do as I do with them, isn't it? You know, it's
also one of the most cleverest things that Trump did was he went to social media, he went on Joe Rogan, he reached out to the ordinary people, to the working class people to say, look, I'm here. And they asked Harris to come on Joe Rogan, and she didn't want to go on. She was, if I go on, I've got the questions have got to be vetted and all that nonsense. And it's like, no.
You know, he has so many standout moments in this campaign. He had the assassination, which I think was the bravest thing I've ever genuinely.
It was extraordinary. It was.
And he had the speed and presence of mind to be able to get up. First, get down, right?
Yeah,
and then get up and do the fist. I mean, that was just like that. Anybody?
Unbelievable.
That was incredible. Then he had like things like the McDonald's moment. The McDonald's moment was just pure good vibes.
That was awesome.
It really was. It was like, no, when you like that Donald Trump serving McDonald's, I mean, like
it was excellent.
What a picture though, where he's like this and he got the flag behind him. And whoever took that picture.
And the garbage truck, it just everything got better and better and better. Joe Rogan. It was a stunning campaign compared to Kamala Harris's stunningly awful campaign. We've answered the question.
Queen Latifah.
You can't split your way to the top.
Yeah.
She had Queen Latifah, mate. You know what I mean? Can't
Oh
go
my
wrong with Queen
God.
Latifah.
Dan, if you're able
It's
to
a
play the
combat
video
genius.
clip I
Exactly.
shared,
Right,
I think it's
we have got a video clip here, courtesy of the Rabbi. So what's this? Who's in this video? And what's the deal?
John Jr. and he's saying how. Tony, tell them what Labour has said.
Last question. The British Labour Party accused of interfering in this election. Will that damage the special relationship?
It's certainly not a great start because it's clear what they're doing, and it's absolute lunacy what I see going on in the UK right now when they're jailing people for misgendering someone. I mean, it's honestly disgusting, and they should be ashamed of themselves.
Appreciate your time.
right.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yep.
Can't argue that.
Well.
So let me just clarify, because that's the president-elect's son.
Yeah, John
Speaking
Jr.
there. Now, for people who don't know, Keir Starmer, our Prime Minister here in Britain, sent 100 Labour Party employees over to America to get directly involved in the Democratic campaign and support Kamala Harris, didn't they?
That's that's not a good thing. That's like you do that to countries that you're at war with.
He did,
Yes.
yeah. And it's going to come out at some point, because although they said, "Oh, they can do what they want on their own free time," we didn't pay for it. I can bet you money that it's going to come out in a few weeks' time that the Labour Party paid expenses for them to go over.
Oh yeah,
They're not the real Labour Party anyway, because the Labour Party is supposed to help working class people. That's what they stand for.
Liberals.
The Conservative Party doesn't conserve anything, and the Labour Party don't stand for the working people.
Right.
It's all been completely inverted. I'd like to be excited about Kemi Badenoch because I do think that she speaks well. I think she talks a lot of common sense. I'm just a little cagey on her, firstly because of the Conservative Party generally, and secondly because she does seem to be in alignment with the World Economic Forum on certain matters. There are pictures of her at Davos, and that makes me uneasy because I think that's where the problem does seem to all track all the way back to.
One place.
Well, okay. I was going to say the biggest beneficiary of this Trump presidency, timed perfectly, will be James Gunn's Superman, right? I think that is exactly the mood the country's going to be in.
Well, it better be good.
I bet it's going to be fun. I bet it's going to be fun. I bet it's going to be rocking.
I think what you're speaking about is the right, and this can happen with when you look at pop culture. This can happen with anything from a song or a book or a moment in time, can't it? But it has happened with movies before. I mean, so it is possible.
Casablanca.
I think if we look ahead to the release schedule, this would probably be the film that we'd want to be the one. This would be the moment in next summer.
Americana.
I reckon they're going to go back and reshoot now.
No, honestly, like and watching the documentary we're talking about later, I thought about that as well. Like I'm thinking, and the MCU, its final death was that Avengers video. They're done. But I got to thinking about this. I'm like, okay, Superman. And nobody on the stream today is from the States, although honestly, Canada is basically a state of the States. But if you're going to go for traditional Americana, which I think we're going to, this would be if you market it properly and go the opposite of the way things have been marketed recently, this could be another 1978 Superman. But yes, James Gunn, who he's political, but the properties that he's made haven't been. It's been there, but it's been tame compared to everything
Chris,
else.
he seems to have made that transition back to being a creative primarily, rather than some sort of agitator. Yeah,
well, you kind of have to, because we saw the end of a lot of stars this week. Like I guarantee the any star power anybody in that Avengers video had,
done.
They're done.
Done.
But I think with this one, if Gunn does it properly, like we know that he can direct. Every film he's ever made has been absolutely beautiful. We know he can write. If you can give us something like Guardians of the Galaxy, or even though I know a lot of people don't like it, Slither, one of my favorite horror movies, something on that level with no political actually on either side. I don't want to see left, but I don't want to see right either. American values, traditional American values, yes.
I think that's exactly what you're going to get. I think you're going to get a live action modern update of the Super Friends. Right?
You know what?
Brilliant.
If they start reshooting, we know something went wrong.
No, you know what? I think he had his finger on the cultural zeitgeist, and I think
I hope so.
I think he shot this one right to start with. This picture of Crypto is perfect. It's fun, it's silly, it's Americana, it's man and a dog. It's perfect.
And do you know what I like so far as well? You don't have any of the actors coming out and saying complete cobblers to the press.
Exactly.
You know, like other films have. This goes back to kind of what. This goes back to kind of.
Keep it to yourself. Yeah, I mean, like
this kind of goes back to what Ian said.
If you knew her politics, what's her name again?
Yeah,
Mrs. Meisels.
Yeah.
Oh, with Rachel Brosnahan.
Yeah. Don't tell your politics, darling. Don't tell your politics. Yeah, you're still spankable. Stay there.
Yeah, we don't need to know what you think about everything.
Exactly.
Obviously, the bulk of the show this evening so far has been about the news from America, the news about free speech that does have a massive knock-on effect, not just to the franchises that we love so much, but this content creation, to speaking freely across all of these platforms and in day-to-day life as well, the platforms that we all have on the average social media account. Not everybody's going to be happy with this outcome. Of course they're not. You know the types of people I'm pointing to, but yeah, they've had years, haven't they, of making us all walk on their eggshells. Enough was enough a long time ago. Let us know what you think in the comments and the live chat, as always, as our show continues here. I did want to mention this event. I don't want these shows to turn into kind of obituary shows. Firstly, it's Saturday night. I don't want to bring us all down. And you can't comment about everybody that we lose along the way. But I was so he was older than I realised at 69 years of age. But I absolutely loved Tony Todd. And when I saw this morning, first thing, that he passed away, apparently he'd been ill. I didn't know anything about that, obviously. I was a little bit choked. Films and TV shows.
It's been in everything, right? He was great in Star Trek. Oh, wasn't he great in Star Trek as Wolf?
Oh, superb. Kern was great.
Several roles in Trek. Yeah.
And X-Files episode was great, where he was preacher. You know, the one where he couldn't sleep and he was the Vietnam vet, and he was going out killing his old squad by making them think it was actually happening, but it was a dream. Superb.
Wasn't he old Cisco or old Jake?
Yeah, he was old Jake in.
That was a great episode.
And that's
by the way, I have to recommend this every time I say Deep Space Nine. I find it unwatchable on Netflix because it's like the race is too low. Look up Google fan-made AI Star Trek Deep Space Nine upscale. Right, I got the entire thing. They're all 1080p. It looks beautiful.
Yeah.
Why they just don't do that on Netflix is beyond me.
But what I was going to say about that episode, that out of all Star Trek series, the good ones and the awful ones, that episode always makes the top 5 list. There's The Inner Light, City on the Edge of Forever.
It's my personal, The Visitor, that episode of Deep Space Nine, it's my personal favourite. I prefer it to Trials and Tribulations and to the one set in the past where Sisko's a novelist on a book. I prefer The Visitor to all of them. I think maybe it's because I'm a dad to multiple boys. Maybe it's because of a number of things. But I actually think that the bulk of the appeal does come down to the performances of Avery Brooks and Tony Todd, to convince us that is Jake all grown up in 40 minutes flat. It's extraordinary.
Yeah. Similarly with DS9 as well, I would also say the episode where he comes back as Kern and he's lost his honour because of what Worf's done and he wants to commit ritual suicide. That is a very, very
I just watched that one like 2 weeks ago too.
It's great, isn't it? It really is good.
What did he die of, by the way?
I looked. They haven't said.
Okay.
It might come out eventually, but I don't. It's. I couldn't even find where they said it was a long or short illness. Just that he had died at home.
All right.
So I don't know. But it's and I actually found out Dan when I got up this morning to go to deal with the Canadian health system for 8 hours. Before I left, I checked my thing. I'm like, what? And then Dan had sent the message. I'm like, Tony Todd. Oh crap! Like, and don't forget Candyman, one of the best movies.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
One of my there was Slither, one of my favorite horror movies of all time.
He was in The Rock as well, weren't he?
Yep.
He was in more things than you think. I didn't know he was in Platoon. He was in Night of the Living Dead, the remake of that from 1990. Candyman has to be his most famous role.
Realize his character in Platoon was the basis of Robert Downey Jr.'s character in Tropic Thunder, where he was playing a black guy in a Vietnam movie. Right? I just realized he played Tony Todd in Platoon. That's so bizarre.
I haven't seen Platoon in quite a time.
Yeah, I can't remember it.
I haven't seen it since, actually, about 25 years.
Ever since
I
it
watched
got
that
released
tonight.
in the cinema. Yeah, it's the only time I saw it in the cinema.
I mean, I rewatched it a number of years ago, and it stood up.
I bought the Blu-ray like 15 years ago, and I still haven't watched it. I think I'm going to finally watch it.
Actually, you know what didn't stand up, and I was surprised? Saving Private Ryan.
I didn't even bother upgrading. I can't stand Tom Hanks. I disassociate anything with that actor.
Yeah, a lot of that stuff is true. It's
I don't mind Tom
it's
Hanks.
like you're watching it and you can just kind of see everybody out of frame throwing like buckets of water on them and stuff. Say like,
understandably, for a guy with the kind of voice that Tony Todd had got, he did a lot of voice work in computer games and animations as well, animated feature films, as well as episodic television, playing multiple villains. And I think the odd hero, or here or there, I think, in DC shows and direct-to-DVD movies in particular. And he's the kind of actor where when it's like Clancy Brown, you see him on the credits, you think, oh, there's an air of class about this. They haven't just gone for, they've taken the time to not just think, let's get a cut price Tony Todd. No, we'll get Tony Todd. They mean business.
Well, the funny thing is, Eddie Murphy was supposed to be in Candyman originally, and he demanded too money. And he asked for too much money, so they. Tony Todd was their second choice. Could you imagine Eddie Murphy? That movie would have been forgotten by now. Tony Todd, with that voice, made it absolutely iconic. And that the only saving thing about that god awful remake was Tony Todd does show up at the end. The movie's been out for several years, so it's not spoilers.
Yeah, I can't see me seeing that.
Well, no, but he does show up at the end, so it is alluded. They might have been going back to it. So I'd actually been looking forward to it. I'm like, okay, well, Nia DaCosta wrecked her career. So hopefully they'll get somebody competent back in. And it seems that Tony Todd does want to do this again. And even the Candyman 3, the direct-to-video one, I don't hate that movie. I actually like it. The girl in it is a terrible actress, but Tony Todd is still awesome. So I was excited. I'm like, okay, we might get another Tony Todd Candyman movie, which unfortunately now we won't. But it
because he loved the part, didn't he? He wasn't frustrated by his association with it the way that some are.
Was he in Final Destination?
I think so.
Final Destination. Was he in Final Destination?
Yes, he was. And also with the bee scenes in the first Candyman, they were actually in his mouth. It was in his contract that he would get $1,000 extra for every bee sting. But no, he actually, the scene with when he opens his mouth and the bees come out, they had a bee wrangler, whatever you call them, and they actually put the bees in his mouth, and apparently he did get stung. But I'm like, that's somebody who's dedicated to their craft. Watch any of the
paycheck was big.
Actually, relatively, Candyman wasn't that high budget movie, so it's it would probably help buy him a car or so. But imagine any of our actors today unless you're like Tom Cruise, or maybe Nicolas Cage, actually doing something like that. No, we don't have.
I'd like Rachel Zegler to do that if you could arrange it. That would make me
Russell Crowe did something. Russell Crowe did something similar. He had to put in one of his first movies. He had to put a spider in his mouth. He told that story in Joe Rogan, which was quite fascinating. So yeah, so he did it.
No way.
You know what I mean? So there you go.
Gillian Anderson ate a bug on the X-Files. Well, put it in her mouth.
Paul Freeman ate a fly in Raiders of the Lost Ark.
This is a bit of a tangent. Do you think there's anybody better in bed than Gillian Anderson? Because I think she's very clever.
She's very what?
I'll ask you when she comes over next week.
Inhibited.
It always goes to this, doesn't it? When Rabbi's on,
You mentioned Gillian Anderson. What do you want me to do? You mentioned Gillian Anderson.
I didn't think you mentioned her. What are you doing?
I didn't think I was going there.
To be fair to the rabbi, he does ask the questions of the people.
This is how sexy Gillian Anderson is. In The Queen, in The Crown, she played Margaret Thatcher. And she looked exactly like Margaret Thatcher. She moved like Margaret Thatcher. She sounded like Margaret Thatcher. There's one difference between her and Margaret Thatcher. I want to fuck her, and I'll be
Can't believe he's a rabbi. Can't believe he's a rabbi.
Well, I tell you the truth, my son.
Well, that is true. He is honest, uninhibited. Somewhat.
But he still looks good today as well.
That's the uninhibited we really want.
Look, let's retain a little bit of dignity for the sake of Tony Todd, who's passed away at the age of 69. I apologise. Wow, 69 years of age.
Really? 69? Really? Do you have to be that number?
Let's know your favourite Tony Todd performances and characters and moments on the big screen or the small screen in the comments and in the live chat, and we'll get back to you. And we'll trade our memories there of the great man who's sadly died in the last 24 hours.
Hello, small change, kind of short. Taco Bell is just your sort.
For only 99 cents or less, you can get lots of great tasting food only at Taco Bell. So if you've got some small change just lying around, there's only one real choice.
Hello, Taco Bell.
Why doesn't Taco Bell just market itself as a cure for constipation?
Don't know.
I've never had Taco Bell.
It made my back rumble. You're right. You're right.
It's we have it in the UK.
No, I was about to ask you that.
No.
Yeah, in the UK,
here, when you can get 5 tacos for $5, you know it's like grade F meat. I haven't eaten Taco Bell in about 25 years because I don't want to experience that again. But no, there's the Taco Bell challenge. And apparently this is actually a thing. Eat your 5 tacos, then see how long it is before you have to visit the little boy's room. Like it's awful. So yeah, Taco Bell is bad.
Do they still have the Kentucky Fried Chicken spare ribs?
Yeah, over here. Yeah.
Oh, they before I ate kosher. Oh, they were good.
Okay, the jury is out whether we have Taco Bell in Britain or not. I've never seen one. Never mind, had one. I think we need people in the live chat, Ian, to let us know for certain, don't we? That would be great.
Right next to the bathroom.
There's something kind of what we do have in Britain that I think you've got all over the world are these public information films. A long legacy of them. Listen, this poor kid. This legacy stretched back decades where not just children but adults would have their life scared out of them by these 1-2 minute public information films telling us not to do fucking stupid stuff that nobody would do in a million years. Anyway, we got to talking about this last week. When it was bonfire night, we were talking about all that malarkey, firework night and sparklers and all that kind of thing. And Chris chipped in with a bit of a kind of a wager, if you like to say, I bet that your public information films are nowhere near as good as the ones that we had in Canada. He's very much risen to the challenge there of delivering. And we have got a video here that Chris has provided that we're going to watch here and enjoy together. And then Chris is going to tell us all about it. Do you want to preface this in any way, the Great Bowls Trek?
So this was from the Workplace Safety Insurance Board.
Okay.
2007. Actually, it was from the same campaign as the lady that had the incident in the kitchen last week. So today we are going to learn about high rises, using a proper harness, and being careful around exploding tanks.
Okay, let's do it.
It sounds unmissable. I'm in, and so is he.
I'm working overtime because I want to take my family on a nice vacation. Soon they get a call telling them I was killed in an accident. But hey, I'm wearing a busted harness here. And the company should have checked those tanks to
It's been an accident! Run, get some help!
What the hell?
What the hell?
Played during all hours of the day, including children's programming. And I'm not going to preface what I've got for next week because Dan's going to have to see if he can even play this one on YouTube because it's going to be censored and blurred a lot. But yeah, so don't work overtime. And
is that the guy that ended up in house?
No, it's not him.
Extraordinary.
That was funny. Let's face it, it was funny.
We've got some comments in the live chat. Garbage asks, is it wrong to laugh?
No.
I don't think you have a choice.
Yeah, exactly.
Michael Q says, can we see that advert in Canada, please? I think he's talking about the one with the little girl and the firework.
I'm the little girl.
As a business insurance broker, I'm going to take that to go and see my clients going forward.
It'll work. Well, it's like, fasten your harness, dude. Somebody dude.
Oh, God. Wisco Tangy Foxtrot says Lord Thoth. I think I know what he's getting at there. I shouldn't be laughing, says Stephen Braddock. And, of course, Darren Bradley reminds us of the Charlie Says DVD, the classic DVD from around 25 years ago. The ad, so Retro Doc says the ad was a metaphor for what just happened to Kamala Harris. You could be right. You could be right. Yes, that was a belter. I don't know how you're going to follow that. I don't have nightmares, I suppose is what we're supposed to say. Isn't it? I don't know.
At some point, not next week, because it might be my backup, but I'll show you a music video about not eating yucky things with puppets that will give you nightmares.
Okay.
Great teaser.
And it might make you sick.
I know a few girls like that. Yes, more comments, please, in the live chat. Yes, you can trade your memories. If you're still suppressing trauma from public information films from back in your childhood, we're going to be looking at more as the weeks go on here with Chris, and maybe we'll do some sort of compilation at Christmas. I don't know, but if you've got a favourite,
yes, that's the Christmas show. Oh God, what day is Christmas? We have to do a Christmas show.
Well, anyway,
that's a good question. What day is Christmas?
Well, I can tell you next week our ad. So it's we're going to cover, because I like covering all of Canada. Next week's ad is coming from the province of Alberta, and they're hardcore.
Okay. Hardcore.
Well, I look forward to that.
Great stuff. The Kitchen One in Canada advert, that was Michael Q enjoyed that one. What's next week's ad? Be careful around atom bombs. Questions Stephen Braddock. Yeah, we're going to have to do requests, I think, for classic British ones as well as public information films from all over the world. I bet there's some crackers coming out of Japan and places. Yeah, I'd love to see all of that. This is the Spacebook Live, where we get stuck into all of pop culture in movies, TV, comic books, and across the genres too: science fiction, fantasy, comedy, and horror. If you can geek out about it, well, we're gonna talk about it. Join the mission here and subscribe to the Spacebook for the Spacebook Live every Saturday, and our deep dive into classic TV and movies with the Spacebook listed as well. Future editions coming soon, I promise, at some point in the future. Okay, now, yes, so the Trump story sort of thrown us out a little bit, so we're doing a little bit of running to sort of pick up where I wanted to go. I think, though, the first place should be here. to wherever this was.
Well.
Oh, sorry, Bruce Wayne.
Oh, hi. Okay, nice to meet you.
Oh, I read your work. I like it a lot.
So thank you very much, Mr. Wayne.
Anyway, are you going to be staying in Gotham for a while?
Well, I'm actually here to do a report on the Batman.
Oh, the Batman.
Oh, I'm sorry. Did you have plans this evening?
What do you want?
Well, you see, I sort of have a problem.
That was awesome.
I want it so bad. Oh no, devastating. You're right. You know, but should they do it? That's
right. That's the question.
Yes. This is
How
the
great was
age
that?
we live in.
Be careful what you be careful what you wish for. Michael Keaton and Christopher Reeve there together on screen, sort of courtesy of a very clever fan. Michael Keaton and Christopher Reeve did appear together in a movie. I only found out about this a couple of days ago. It was called Speechless, and it was made in the mid-90s with Gina Davis.
Yeah, I remember that.
They were only in a very brief scene together, but I think we'll have to track that down. To be honest, any film...
Burton Superman, it would have been Nicolas Cage.
Yeah.
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 His
Giant
long hair.
spider.
The giant spider.
Yeah.
You could be onto something. I mean, yeah, but there's something very seductive about this time, because obviously Christopher Reeve only stopped playing Superman, didn't he, in 1987. The following year, Michael Keaton was cast as Batman, and then the year after, he was on screen actually doing it. So yeah, to see that fabulous bit of fan editing there, brilliant. We'll have to play that again later on. I can only think of one way that it could be bettered, really, and maybe somebody else.
Absolutely.
Maybe somebody else will take care of that for us. I don't know, but that does bring us neatly to something else, to a new movie that's been, I think it's finally out in cinemas in Britain, so it's reached everywhere now. It's had a very limited time in cinemas. I think it was 1 or 2 days in Britain, but it's been all over the world. Everywhere else have been able to see it for quite some time. It involves Christopher Reeve. It was made by in cooperation with his family, by DC Films and various other interests. Superman, the Christopher Reeve story, a tear-jerking feature-length documentary. The trailer's been doing the rounds for quite a long time. I've got to be honest, I could barely make it through that without nearly blubbering like a little girl who'd lost a balloon. But no, I was brave enough to watch the film in the end. It's a British-American venture, as I say, with the involvement of the late actor's family. And it's finally out there, so everyone can see it. So yeah, I've watched it this week. Ian, you saw it at the cinema, didn't you?
Yeah, I saw it a special preview, which was last month at BAFTA, and Chris Reeve's daughter and son was there after the screening. But I choked up halfway through it. I mean, he was a hero in every sense of the word, Chris Reeves. Even after his accident, he was still helping people, and he directed 2 movies, which I didn't know he did, while he was paralyzed. And the fight to actually keep him alive every day. They were running out of money, all that stuff. It's a really good documentary, and I recommend it. I personally recommend it.
The synopsis says that actor Christopher Reeve rises to stardom when he lands the role of Superman in the 1970s, when a horse-riding accident leaves him paralyzed. In 1995, Reeve spends the rest of his life searching for a cure for spinal cord injuries. Obviously, this is within living memory for probably everybody on this panel. Certainly, I'd say a lot of people in the live chat as well. I remember the accident happening. I remember watching and willing him to some sort of life after the fact. He's one of, I'd say, about half a dozen movie stars. Well, it's one thing to enjoy stuff that Mel Gibson's movies, for example, or Russell Crowe's movies, or Richard Gere's movies. But I think there's a set of 5 or 6 actors who made their debuts in the 70s or the 80s, who they became almost, they were more than actors, but they represented something else. They were deeper in our hearts, and it didn't really matter what they were doing. They were just special to us, and we didn't want them to come to any harm. And so to see Christopher Reeve go through this, albeit at a great distance, us as fans getting older, was very, very difficult. Obviously passed away 20 years ago this year, didn't he?
There's when I was watching the film, I was sitting next to this old guy, and I did, because you just sit next to people. And then when they had the questionnaire at the ending, there's a bit in the film where this guy is walking Chris Reeves to the set. I think it was Superman 3, and he stood up and he said, "I was the guy in that film that walked him to the set." And I was like, "Bloody hell!" Bloody hell.
Yeah.
So
nice.
that was pretty cool. Yeah, that's pretty cool. So yeah. It's a good
I
film.
watch a lot of documentaries, Ian, when I can, about actors and filmmakers and pop and rock stars as well. I like documentaries about bands and rockers and things, pop culture figures. But when you know that the ending is not just a sad one, but an absolutely heartbreaking one, there's a bit of hesitancy to press play. I watched the Pat Morita one last year. Obviously Mr. Miyagi from the Karate Kid movies, and now he was an actor who, for me personally, I didn't know a great deal about him. I didn't watch Happy Days, so he was very shrouded in a lot of mystery. He wasn't somebody who was very visible. Christopher Reeve used to go on British chat shows and things like that, didn't he? And he would take part in Children in Need and things, because he filmed a lot of his movies in Britain. So, and he lived in Britain for most of the 80s, so he was always here. With this, I thought, well, this felt, because the Miyagi one, the Pat Morita one, it did kind of, for a little while, damage my perceptions of Pat Morita, because he was a very flawed and troubled man. With this one, I just didn't want to see, or didn't know if I wanted to see, Christopher Reeve go through all this again. But I thought, well, clearly his family believe that there's value in this. I'm a big boy.
Yeah, I mean, look, they were very vocal how they supported it. I mean, I haven't seen it, but they've been very vocal how they like it's like, the official story. I think he probably was a good dude. I would tell you.
He was.
He wasn't. But I think. Go ahead, Ian.
His son was saying that when they got the news and he was talking to him, he said when he fell directly onto his head, and they were saying that an inch left or an inch right, he would have been dead. Right. And the positive thing you take out of it is that, yes, he was paralyzed, but he helped so many people. And plus, he wasn't really paying attention to his family when he was, okay. But because he was paralyzed, he spent more time with his kids. He spent more time, and he spent more time with charity and helping people and stuff like that. So Chris was, I think there was one bit in it where
his flaws are on display in this film, aren't they? Yeah, and that's something I wasn't expecting.
Yeah. He was very competitive, wasn't he? Do you remember, Dan? He used to sail, he used to ski, he used to do all this stuff, and he's always going to be the first. He used to beat his kids skiing and stuff like that. That was what his wife was saying. He was. Everyone's flawed, right? I mean, his first girlfriend he left for this new girl and stuff like that. So he wasn't perfect, but it seems like the accident made him a Superman. Not to be crass or anything like that. It really did make him a hero. He did a lot of stuff when he was in that position. And again, right, Robin Williams would come and visit him all the time, his birthdays and everything, make sure he was supported and all that. Robin Williams came across as a good guy, just as well as Chris Reeves in this film. And I think it was who's the woman in Jagged Edge? Glenn Close said that. Yeah, she said that she thinks that Robin Williams gave up because Chris wasn't around. That's what she said.
What she said is if this part, that you're not human if this doesn't hit you. She's like, if Christopher Reeves were still around, Robin would still be here.
Yeah, that's more or less that's what she said. Yeah, so that's crazy, right? When you think about it,
they
were roommates, weren't they, in the 70s?
They were.
They were best friends.
Yeah.
I mean, what I was a little bit reluctant to put myself through was 100 minutes of absolute heartache, unrelenting heartache and distress. The film is better made than that. It's not crass in any way. It's beautifully put together and sort of bookended, really, isn't it? So it does take you through Christopher Reeve's life, and in a very, I won't say unflattering way, but in a very whole way. So we learn about his own troubled upbringing, and family life, his demons, his vanities, his excesses, his obsessions, I suppose. But how he handled fame, I think, was where it sort of comes full circle, and where the boy kind of becomes a man. Ironically, is after he's played Superman. It's fascinating to watch, all in context, and the material about his accident and about quadriplegia, that it's more sort of placed at specific junctions, isn't it, as they tell his life.
Yeah. I remember there's a sequence in it where they talk about his dad. His dad wasn't very pleased with him. When he said he was playing Superman, he was really happy, but he thought it was a play called The Superman that he was in. Once he learned it was Superman, he just basically was very unhappy that he was playing Superman. How crazy!
Why? Why would he be unhappy?
Because he was an arse. That's why.
He even there are interviews with Reeves before and after the accident where he said he could, no matter what he did, he could never please his father. I'm like, your son's been cast as Superman, and it's not intellectual enough for you. But no, it's I was like you, Dan. Like it's an inspirational, but this is such a sad story.
It is.
And especially, those of us that grew up with Superman, we all remember Superman 78. But there was the accident, which I remember that too. It happened just shortly after I turned 17. And I remember following the news. I'm like, wow. And then, I do remember, I haven't seen them, but I do remember he had directed movies. But the end of it, like, it was such a sad story because Christopher Reeves, basically his body just gives out, which I think they all knew was going to happen at some point. It wasn't like a deterioration. Basically, he had an infection and then he just didn't wake up again. But it was, if you think about his youngest son, he loses his father. Then this is, and this I think hit a lot of us at the time. His wife Dana Reeves. Ends up never smoked in her life, but I know she had performed in clubs, so that may be where she got it. Who knows? But she ended up with stage 4 lung cancer. So within 18 months, that kid lost both of his parents. And then I think, along with the Robin Williams line, another line that I think really hits you in that is near the end when he says he's been alone ever since the day his mother died. He lost, like, you feel so bad for the kid.
Yeah. But they're still carrying on the
30s,
charity, aren't they? The daughter and the brother still carrying on the charity, and they look so much like him. It's mad.
Well,
spooky.
Kinda. If they're hit by a kind of reality ray, maybe.
Is it honestly? It is worth your time, but take some hankies with you because you might just start crying.
I didn't get to that point, but I was starting to get choked up, and it. If anybody knows me, it takes a lot to do that. But the 2 points, the Robin Williams line, and then the line at the end after Dana passes away. But I like the way they did this. I wasn't sure. I'm like, the fact that it wasn't chronological. And it's not, the first time we've seen something like this. But going back and forth between, the high points of his career with Superman, that going back and forth between that and after the accident. And you do kind of get frustrated because they even say he never he'd never had a box office success.
Outside
of Superman. I remember one of the last movies he had, and actually I saw this in theaters because it was playing when he had his accident. It was Village of the Damned.
I was going to say Village of the Damned. That was a great movie.
That was the John Carpenter's remake of the British classic, isn't it?
Yes, and that was I'd seen that in theaters about a week before the accident. And because it came out at the end of April 95, he had his accident on May 27th. So that was when when we saw the news, like, people were watching that movie, and it's like, but it's such an inspirational, and it sucks because you really don't see people. Well, you rarely see people like this period come out of Hollywood. But when you look at the kind of stars that we have now who are just pathetic, based on what we were talking about earlier, and you compare them to somebody like Christopher Reeve, like completely different planet.
Yeah.
But it's just like Hillbilly Elegy. If you haven't seen this documentary, and I was apprehensive because I knew the subject matter was tight, and I remember just after his wife passed away, I'm like, it was just so sad for anybody that watched it, and I'm like, this is not going to be a happy movie, but I need to watch it. But I think it's well done.
Yeah.
I can't believe CNN was involved in this, but this is what CNN used to do.
CNN, HBO. There's a lot of names on this, isn't there?
Yeah, but this is the kind of stuff CNN used to do. But no, I would rank this as, I'd say, one of the top 5, at the very least, one of the top 10. And I'd watch documentaries all the time. Documentary films I've ever seen, and it's very emotional, but it's very well done.
Well, what I find fascinating about this film is that one line where they were talking about was it John Hurt? No, the actor Hurt, where they were doing this big play
William
together.
Hurt.
William, that's the fella, William
Yeah,
Hurt.
totally different
And
guy.
then they were going on about because he said to them, because they were doing a play, and he said to them, I've got an audition in London. And they said, what is it for? And he would, I think he wouldn't tell him. Then when he came back, said it was Superman. And William Hurt said to him, don't take it, because you'll just be Superman. You got to be a proper actor. You can't be in those films and stuff.
Oh, thank God he didn't listen to him.
Yeah, I know. That's crazy.
Yeah,
right?
and I love William Hurt. It's one of my favorite actors.
Absolutely crazy. Yeah, there you go.
It's when I described Christopher Reeve as one of a small set of actors that I have this sort of well of affection for, that transcends the parts. I really do mean it. Village of the Damned, Remains of the Day, Switching Channels, Somewhere in Time.
Yep.
Some of these films are better than others. Some of them are genres which I wouldn't normally watch films of. But if Christopher Reeve's in it, somebody suggested we go, well, see Remains of the Day. Not really. So Christopher Reeve's in it, I go, yeah, okay. I want to see that person again. It's because it's him. It's because it's Christopher Reeve, and I think that Harrison Ford has that. I think that Roger Moore had that. There are just some actors and actresses. It's not exclusively men that I feel that way about. And I don't know. Do you guys feel that way too about Christopher Reeve and this particular sort of time?
I would watch a film with Chris Reeve. One thing that struck me, though, really, when I was watching this documentary, and it may sound obvious to people, but I actually wanted to say that, how good looking was Christopher Reeves? He was off the scales, wasn't he? They showed
it's only now that I'm older that you realise he was 24 when he was first cast and playing Superman. He looks older, but
I mean, the only respect, the thing I'll say is the fact that, when I was growing up in the 80s, I didn't, there was no internet at the time, obviously. So the only time I knew about characters growing up as a kid, the ones that stood out for me was Christopher Reeves as Superman, probably Darth Vader, Luke Skywalker, and Harrison Ford as Indiana Jones, and of course Roger Moore as Bond. And for me, I'm incredibly grateful that I lived through that period, that he was Superman. What I liked about it, similar to what Chris was saying a few minutes ago about a different era of actor, he respected the role. You didn't hear any crises about outside of it, but they do their jobs. They do give it a respect, but now you don't get that, whereas he did. And that first film, and I love the second as well, and I love the third one, which is the Pryor show. But it's great. But it's just Christopher Reeves for me will always be Superman. It's probably like the same for people that grew up in the 50s with those series. They had their Superman. This was
John, I remember
Superman.
when I was a boy talking about Superman. I didn't see the first one at the cinema. I saw the second one at the cinema. But I remember talking it up to older people, my uncles, and even my granddad. And the reaction was, but Superman is George Reeves. There was that resistance now that we get now. We get it all the time with David Corenswet about to take the part. It's Christopher Reeve as Superman. People said the same thing 35, 40 years ago, but it was George Reeve. And this isn't necessarily anything new or big or clever. And it just goes to show that times do change, and other people can come along and make a mark in the same role, Rabbi.
Yeah.
It doesn't, even though he is Superman, right? Superman is Christopher Reeve. Right, this is an iconic vision of him. It doesn't preclude anybody else having a different vision of Superman and bringing it out. I mean, look. The thing is, when I like the Henry Cavill Superman a lot, but when you put it back to back with this, you're aching for this. I mean, I also loved his superpower that he could throw his S out from the chest.
Wow, that was crap.
I like the kid. I loved it. But the thing is, it looks so cool, but was never explained.
Exactly.
And I love that. I love the fact they just did it anyway because they knew it would look smart.
That was Richard Lester. That was Richard Lester's idea.
Yeah, it was, wasn't it? Yeah. But do you know what? As a kid, not knowing much about acting and performances, but when as a kid I saw him do, and I knew he was a superb actor, was when he did in the first Superman movie, he takes the glasses off. So he's Clark Kent, but he takes the glasses off and then he kind of straightens his back up. Yeah. And you're like,
they play that clip in the film.
You know, it's superb acting. It really is. And, we were so lucky to have him as Superman.
Do you know what? My dad took me to see Superman the movie, right? I saw it without him, and then I saw it, and my dad took me to see it the second time. And you say that other people about George Reeve and stuff. My dad grew up with George Reeve Superman. But when this film had finished and we were walking home, my dad had a big smile in his face. And he said that was probably one of the best films he's seen. So, you know what I mean? So it's crazy, right? So,
it's the same reason that the first JJ Star Trek was good, right? It just, you walked out happy, right? It was fun. And again, I think that we haven't seen that in cinema for a long time.
The first one I saw in theaters, goddamn, Superman 4. Cannon's disaster. Although it did make a I was wondering how they were going to cover that in the movie, and then they're like, even Christopher Reeve knew it was an absolute disaster.
But the thing is, though, he did it because they promised him money for his other film, and also the budget got cut because they were making Universe.
Well, they gave it to Cannon.
Yeah, I know. Well, Cannon brought the right, didn't they?
And I think in the documentary on the box set, Christopher Reeve says about it where he had envisioned it to a certain level of production, but they kept moving the goalposts as they went along and slashing and slashing.
It was
slashing.
Milton Keynes was New York or something.
And it had what it had on the tube when it was coming. Was it Cock Foster's on the tube when it was coming? So there you go.
I remember
my favorite Christopher Reeve moment though is in Superman 2 as he's flying up the Eiffel Tower. He looks up and he grabs the lift. Then,
that was a good scene. Yeah,
that was awesome. And it was like the marrying with the music, right? He's ever. Tied in
what's always struck me about Superman 4 in the intervening time, I saw that at the cinema as well, but what's always stayed in my head isn't actually the film itself. It's knowing that Christopher Reeve, it was pretty much public that he had no intention of returning to that part. But when he did return, it was very well publicised, certainly in Britain. He was living in Britain at the time, so he was always being interviewed. And he was very open and very enthusiastic eventually about the aspect that he was involved in the plot of that fourth film. He was involved in the development of the narrative, the kind of story they were going to tell in the quest for peace. That was going to be about nuclear disarmament up to a point. And that was the first time I think I ever heard of somebody doing that. I was very, very young, like 13, something like that. So I'd got nothing to compare it to, but the fact that he cared enough about the part, about the viewers, about the kind of the platform is a dirty word now, but about the platform that it would give. I believe Alex Kurtzman I blame for this, but about the platform that it could give and the things you could say whilst you were in that suit, embodying that character. and speaking to that audience.
I mean, I was going to say as well, Dan. We talked a couple of weeks ago on the show, and we talked about Man of Steel, and we talked about, I think Ian, you agreed with me on it, where we were talking about like Superman, where they're fighting him and Zod, and the city's getting smashed up. Normally Superman will take it to the desert or go into space to carry on that fight. Superman 2 is a classic example of that. He sees the destruction below him and he takes them elsewhere to fight, and I love that. He's caring about the humanity, and he's like, right, I've got to take him out of this zone, get him somewhere else, just where there can't be any collateral damage. And 1 and 2, I mean, again, Lester did it, but Donner was, he's a favorite director of mine, but yeah.
What I think I'd forgotten, or what I'd not thought about in a number of years, was the fact that Christopher Reeve was only 44, 42, sorry, when he had the accident, and 52 when he passes away.
Yeah.
It sucks when you think of what might have been. He would only be 60.
Wow. Early to mid 60s.
No, early 70s now.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
No. Early 70s.
72.
And you think what might have been, and also, if you had some of the celebrities who were, I think, genuine people, like Christopher Reeve or Robin Williams, what they how they would have handled the past few years. I think they would have done what Tom Cruise is and just stayed out of it.
Yeah.
But it sucks when you see, you saw so much potential, and say if he hadn't had the accident, I think we could have had, at least one more Superman out of him. It does suck that Superman 4 was kind of a swan song, although I think eventually they could all see the humor in it, because I don't think any of them realized quite how bad it was until the premiere, and apparently some of them couldn't help themselves but laughing. But it's we don't have celebrities anymore, and I like this anymore, and I think the climate around the dumpster fire known as Hollywood just doesn't allow for people like this anymore. So it just but at least the one good thing is we'll always have the films that they did. I'm watching I'm actually watching the last movie I saw before his accident, Village of the Damned. I decided I'm going to watch that tonight for the first time in a couple of years after watching that documentary. But it's like, it real Hollywood, real movies that appeal to everyone, stars that are decently good people. Unless you're Keanu Reeves, it doesn't exist anymore.
Yeah,
we've I think it reminds us all of. Because celebrities, they used to be people that we looked up to, and it was the old culture in Hollywood. You didn't put your personal crap into it. You were there to set an example for regular people, and now it's like you're a joke. And
I think the last few years, Chris, has shown without a shadow of a doubt that they are insignificant now, because where they went to them to promote stuff for the election. People aren't listening to them. They're irrelevant now, whereas back in the day, this is me as a kid. If Christopher Reeve said something, I would listen to it, because for me growing up, it's Superman, Superman saying something.
Also, I always remember he was interviewed on like Nationwide or whatever it was. It was always very good, right? He was an intelligent interviewee, and again, he's very good looking, right? He's very charismatic. I'm surprised that he didn't get any success other than Superman, because he, acting is a good-looking chap.
His first girlfriend, because they never got married, said how she met him. He was in the queue in I think it was Elstree Studios, and she thought it was Darth Vader. The guy played Darth Vader because he was so tall. When she walked up to him and he turned around, it was Chris Reeve. So it never struck me that Chris was tall at all, but I think it was
something like 6'4". Yeah, huge man. He described himself as a beanpole when he went for the audition, and Dave Prowse had to sort of jack him up and turn him into a monster. In effect, it's a fascinating story, a heartbreaking story, but a life-affirming story as well, I do feel, Chris.
I tell you, watch that back to back with the Death of Superman Lives. What happened? That'll be a weird afternoon.
That's a great documentary. Yeah, another great one. Superman, the Christopher Reeve story. That's finally in UK cinemas. If you've been lucky enough to catch it, or it's probably gone by now. But I believe it's streaming somewhere. Not quite sure where, but it is streaming now too. So yeah, we all recommend that here. You may need to get a box of Scotties on the go whilst you watch it. But I believe, personally, I do believe that it's worth it. Obviously, the torch is about to be passed yet again with the big screen Superman, and I think what's his name? It's Matt Reeve, isn't it? The younger one. No, it's Will Reeve. Sorry, the guy on the right. He's got a role, hasn't he, in the upcoming Superman movie for next year, directed by James Gunn, that we spoke about earlier on. He's playing a newsreader, which isn't going to be a big stretch. He's a sort of a newsreader, a news reporter, anchor, isn't he? On American TV, I understand. So he's going to be one. It's going to be one of those. That's him there, kind of blink and you'll miss him thing. I don't know, but he's unmistakably the son of Christopher Reeve, isn't it?
George Reeves and was it whoever played Lois Lane in the Christopher Reeve Superman movie?
Margot Kidder?
No, the one from the 50s.
Phyllis Coates. She had a very small part, didn't she?
On the train as he was running by it, I thought, or something like that.
Yeah, both.
Anticipation for Superman is building practically by the week. This promotional image we talked about a few weeks ago, and we've all seen them out on location too. Here's David Corenswet, and she's so gorgeous. Rachel Brosnahan as Lois Lane, looking like she's just stepped out of a comic book. I can't wait for this. As I say, it's tonally, for me, it'll all be in the tone. Yeah, the costumes, there's this, there's that, there's the other. It's if they get the tone right. This could be absolutely huge, and it does seem like it's got the blessing of the Reeve family too. So that legacy is going to continue.
That's the only thing. He doesn't look that buff in this picture.
No, they're gonna
not in this one, but he is fucking huge. If you look at the pictures of the cast together when they went to the Super Bowl together, he is massive. This guy.
I remember when they whipped the shirt off Henry Cavill in that first one, where he his clothes went off. My daughter how old was she? She was the exact age that her puberty in.
Bless.
At that moment, she's like, "Oh my god, I got to look at the screen really intently." That's what I mean about buff.
I know, mate. It's like when I get out of the shower, mate. I look at.
We make no apologies for being enthusiastic about what's coming from DC Studios, or at least I don't. Here on the Spacebook Live, it's the first project's due in a matter of weeks. We'll be covering that too. Let us know what you think about Superman, the Christopher Reeve story, about Superman that's coming next year. Are you following it just as intently as we are? And let us know, obviously, your thoughts on everything in the Superman legacy as well. It's quite likely we're going to come back to the various Superman films, either here or unlisted or somewhere else. So, we're going to do requests with that too. Let us know what you think.
I'm going to tell you how it's going to be. With Scotch's lifetime guarantee. Tape what you want both night and day. Re-record, not fade away. Re-record, not fade away.
If it's Scotch, it's guaranteed for life.
Make Superman great again. That's all we really want, isn't it? But that wraps it up, I think, for another show. An uncharacteristically politicized edition of the Spacebook Live, but I do think that a lot of this stuff does affect us, not just on the channel, but in day-to-day life as well. This is all that anybody is talking about. Wherever I've been this week, all the conversation has revolved around Donald Trump, around the new administration, about what he's going to do, when he's going to do it, and to who. And that's very much what's in the air. So I can't say it's going to be something we're going to be going back to regularly, but when we talk about free speech, this is something that I personally do believe passionately in. Never made a secret of that. So let us know what you think about all of that as well. Are you relieved? Are you still worried? It doesn't really matter who you voted for. I think this is a bipartisan issue anyway.
Just make an offer. If you know anyone who is genuinely freaking out and they want to talk, like I come on my channel. I'm doing it like you meet somebody a Japanese guy in 1957 on an island who didn't know the war was over, right? I'm like I want to try and gently talk anybody down. Literally, come on my channel. I will not be mean to you much.
and everybody who's looking to leave the United States, so please don't come up here. Everybody wants to go to the UK.
No,
You can have your
Robert in the UK.
Just don't send them here. We're going to have our own Donald Trump in a year, so you won't like it here anyway. So go over to the UK. You'll be happy there.
The last thing I need.
And we'll pick you up. You'll have you at home.
Does to destroy themselves, right? I wish I could look in the future and go, oh, they do that to destroy themselves. Oh, okay then.
The last thing I need is Cher in Tesco when I'm trying to buy some food. All right, I don't want to see her in there. She can do one.
Getting the last bag of nuggets or waffles or whatever. The Rabbi. We can find you on YouTube, Rumble, X. Where else, Rabbi?
YouTube, Rabbi from another planet. By the way, there's two things coming on this week. Saying there's not the way we live in an entertainment wasteland. There's two good things coming on this week. I'm excited about. On Friday, there is Silo, the new season of Silo, which is on Apple TV Plus. Highly recommend this show. The first season was fantastic. Every episode.
I remember you telling me about this. Oh, and Andy, Atomic Blonde LDN, the fabulous Andy, she told me about this as well.
It is absolutely. So the second season is coming up, and it's a really clever show. And then on Sunday, I believe, HBO Max is premiering the Dune Prophecy, which I'm very excited about. I hope it's going to be...
that's the item we had lined up for the show that I'm about to drop because we just run out of time. So,
okay,
maybe we'll talk about it next week.
So, look, already Trump's president, and already we're getting good sci-fi. I really think it's going to... Honestly, I really think everything's going to turn around pretty darn quickly. I just don't think there's an appetite for Trump derangement. Like, look at that! Like,
with the majority
everybody is exhausted. There's a great many people that in the last 80 years have just grown up. They've either mentally grown up or they've got other stuff going on in their lives. That's why when you do see the pictures, you do see the videos of people losing their shit in their car on their phone, it looks a lot more performative. I'm not saying those people aren't desperately mentally ill. They fucking are. and I'm not, believe me, I'm not, it's no laughing matter, really, is it? But the reason why they are sort of is, you've got to be, sometimes I do believe you've got to be cruel to be kind. And a short, sharp shock of reality isn't going to do anybody any harm with this. This is democracy at work when the candidate that most people vote for wins an election or wins whatever you want to call it. This is how democracy works. This is how the world works. And the fact that some people are reluctant to accept certain basic realities, that's not on the rest of us. It's on them. I'm not saying we should abandon them. Just as you say, Rabbi, invite them on your channel, have conversations, open up channels of communication like in Star Trek. But the nonsense can't continue. It cannot be indulged any further. No more eggshells, no more bollocks. I'm not going to refuse to talk about Donald Trump or anyone else. I'll talk about who I like in whichever context I like. And none of those arseholes are going to stop me. And the whole idea of cancel culture now, it's already seems so outdated. It's gone. Woke is bleeding out and it's not coming back.
Yeah, I was going to say to you as well, those videos I've seen this week, most of them, the one characteristic I've seen is the fact that they've got metal nose rings in. So I think it's sort of alien abduction gone wrong where they've been probed incorrectly and it's damaged their brains.
Well, I would agree with you, but my wife has one of those as well. So it's, but for me, it's okay. But they're all weird.
Got the right setting, is it? Yeah.
Yeah, apparently so.
It's not. The good news is starting already. According to Garbage, Sadiq Khan has said that he's going to leave the UK because Trump has won. Like we couldn't be that lucky, could we? Who knows? Let's keep our fingers crossed. Ian, that would affect you.
No one's going to miss you ever.
No.
Don't go too fast because you don't want to incur, ultra high.
Gary Akers has the update. Just in, no celebrities have left the country yet over in America.
There's no celebrities left. They're
Tom
all
Hanks
just
and Richard
beyond.
Gere, aren't they? Is Tom Hanks confirmed he's going to Spain?
Although, listen,
Richard Gere's sold his mansion.
He's going to do a Cliff Richard.
Bill Gates, who say he's cozying up to Trump, he's terrified that he's going to release the Epstein list.
Yeah.
And Bill Gates has been to Pedophile Island more than once, I believe.
Oh, that's going to be released, and we are finally, and it could be, it's not even a joke, we're finally going to find out what happened with JFK, even though we all know it was proto-deep state. But especially since JFK's nephew is now in the will be in the administration. So as somebody who's been following that since I was a kid.
And also his father. His father was killed.
Well, his father and his uncle were killed.
Right. But his father, he knows a lot more what happened with that.
We all know Robert F. Kennedy was assassinated in 1963. No, Robert Kennedy was just about to clinch the Democratic presidential nomination in 1968. He would have been going up against Richard Nixon. And he was assassinated during a campaign speech that summer. So Robert F. Kennedy would have been the president in 1968. Robert F. Kennedy Jr., so the one that's in the one we had the sexy picture of earlier, he is our Robert F. Kennedy Sr.'s son. So he's the son of who was supposed to be the Democratic candidate in 1968. Why do you do this to me?
Go after Disney. That's more important. Take Disney down.
When I was going over the Madison Square Garden thing, rally with Hulk Hogan, if you haven't seen those clips, you've got to see them, right? I compared it to Apollo Creed and the Apollo Creed in Rocky IV.
Yeah.
James Brown. What has happened to Christopher Lloyd here? Too much cocaine?
Probably.
He was frozen today.
Oh God. Okay. Yeah. Where were we? Where were we with the socials? Chris, where can people hear more from you? I know your channel's in a state of limbo at the moment, but you've got something cooking. I understand. If people want the inside track on that, what they best do?
Well, maybe I'll get lucky and after 5 years actually get unshadow banned. And I can actually have my subscribers grow for the first time since 2019 without being deleted instantly. So that would be nice. So what am I doing these days? Dan, what am I doing? Tell me, what am I doing?
You're finding public information films for us on here. You're batting off the degenerates. You're batting off the degenerates and the morons over on your X account, aren't you?
I always do that. At some point, I'll be in a sad enough mood to make a video, maybe a Christmas time. There's a sadness at Christmas. Oh wait, are they doing a Christmas edition of that show that I used to like that I now make fun of?
I'm afraid so.
Yeah, unfortunately.
So you can expect me and the goat to do a video about that. So stay tuned for that because I just exist to make fun of it, and that's me. Hi everyone. Bye.
Brilliant stuff. Okay, so that's Chris, that's Fee. Ian, what have you got going on, mate? I haven't spoken to you since last weekend. I know you've had a few ups and downs this week, but you have been shooting more, haven't you? You've been out there filming Rebecca Gold too. And I hope it's still going well. The nights are getting colder, so I hope it's not too many night shoots and outdoor work.
It's going okay. It's just I've had a setback. I had a hacker that hacked into my Facebook account, and now I can't even access my personal Facebook account or the Rebecca Gold Facebook. So everything is It's not gone.
Compromised at the moment.
Yeah. Basically, some.
What can you do?
I've tried everything.
There's
Everything.
no number to call.
Well, basically, it's supposed to get a code, but it's not even accepting my email address nor any other email address I create. So this hacker's done a really good job in kind of not letting me access my Facebook account. So I might have to create new ones, but we'll see. I keep trying.
That's crazy. There's no solution.
Well, there's no. If there was an email,
you can't contact anyone.
Yeah, you can't contact no one.
I've never been able to speak to anybody. The Type 40, people may or may not know, we got a Type 40 Facebook page with, I think, about 5,000 followers and subscribers that have taken myself and Sarah and a couple of other people a very long time, before even the podcast, before the Type 40 podcast, taken us years to build that up, and it was just taken away from us overnight. No explanation. They said we could appeal. We appeal. It gets nowhere. We just go round and round in circles. That happened just before we were due to go to our very first Hooverville and cover that, and obviously in the 60th anniversary year as well. Really pulled the plug on all of that, and we're building up another one, but we kind of like the other.
Yeah, I mean, I just got and Facebook is full of all the just the worst type of people. I'm sorry. You post anything, you're swarmed by these insane.
Well, I believe that that we lost our page because of the timing of it. I believe that we were the victim of somebody acting with prejudice, with a personal grudge, who knew exactly what to say, when and how. Which I can't go into that further, obviously. So we're pretty sure we know who did it. But
I know. This is exactly what Trump has said, that you should have full information on what the accusations are, what the reasons are for removing you, so you have transparency there.
But
they won't tell us what the problem was, John. So we can't. We're stuck in that loop.
I have to tell you. And
they won't disclose the person's identity, even though I know who it was.
on my thing, it says basically, it says that it shows you it shows you the address of the person that committed something heinous on my Instagram account, right? It gives you the address of that person. It says, this person has committed broken the rules. Therefore, we're shutting down your Facebook and your Facebook page. But I can still access my Instagram. So I don't understand why I can still access my Instagram. So it's somebody that's actually hacked into my Instagram, broke the rules, and then they think it's me, and then they punished me and took away my Facebook pages. That's what it seems like to me.
Keep us posted, mate. We really hope you get it back.
I'm still on X though.
No, you know what you can do? Go to their corporate website and look up their different teams. There's
Meta, isn't it? Is it Meta? What? Is it Meta?
I've tried that, got nowhere. But
go to their not customer consumer relations. They're asking to give them a statement about what one can do in this situation.
Well,
best of luck with that, Ian.
Yeah, if I have to create a new one, I have to create a new one.
I guess you can do that.
I can do. Yeah,
give Ian all the support you can on Rebecca Gold, by all means. John, you've not had the easiest week either, without going into details, but glad that you're sort of fighting fit. And thanks for taking part. As always, where can people find you on social media and hear more from you and all that malarkey?
So I'm on X under Gallifrey11. And I've got my YouTube channel at Sci-Fi Chronicles 79. So you can find me over there. So come say hello. And
tomorrow you'll be in Waitrose with Cher.
Oh yeah, you know, the plastic woman.
Believe in life after love.
You can find me on Instagram and X as the Spacebook, wheezing and groaning, ranting and raving about all things geeky in movies, TV, comic books, and all that jazz, as well as politics over the last couple of months, increasingly this week. It's cost me a few followers, but I don't give a shiny one, and neither should you. You say what you like to who you like, as long as you do so respectfully and playfully. That's the way forward. I feel no more eggshells, everybody. And you can get more of me. God bloody hell. Oh, I hate to say that without sounding like a big head or something. Yeah, look, you can get more of the same. If you are not fed up with the sound of my voice by now, Type 40 Live there on the Type 40 channel. These are just some of the live streams over the last 2 or 3 months. The Doctor Who Podcast Day specials, they're our summer special. We were live in Hooverville with Wendy Padbury. She could put up with us for about 10 minutes or so, bless her heart. She was great fun. And there's the regular weekly editions there too, with lots more coming at you. Ian Levine Uncensored and all manner of other things I've got under wraps for just the next day or two, I think, and then all will be revealed. Head back here to the Spacebook, help us build this channel, and join the mission with the Spacebook Live every Saturday, talking about everything else in movies and TV and politics now and again too, if it sort of crosses over. Really, this is an open forum, round table discussion. Then we can just sort of take the brakes off a little bit and have fun and relax with you there in the live chat on YouTube and on Rumble. So yes, like the video, subscribe to the channel if you would. It doesn't take very long. It helps a lot more than you think. And hit the cloister bell to get all the notifications. Time to swing off. Yep, I think it's time. Thank you for your company, gentlemen. I've had a brilliant. I feel like I've got it all out of my system. So I've had a really good evening, a great chat, lots to think about, lots to be excited about, plenty to be hopeful for, I feel, and yes, some great friendships to be very thankful for. Cheers for your company. Thanks for all those comments in the live chat. Keep them coming, and we'll see you in the comments later. Bye-bye.
See ya.
Yo.